Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, today we are in my garage because we're going to be unboxing and reviewing this laser engraver from a company called Ortur. This is the Ortur Laser Master 3 LE, which I assume means light edition. Now Ortur did send this to me because I had some needs for my hydroponic towers where I wanted to start engraving our logo on the towers themselves. So I reached out to Ortur to see if they had a laser engraver that I could use and also test out and review on this channel. Now at first glance, this laser engraver is a lot smaller than the other laser engravers that I've reviewed and unboxed on my channel or channels. In fact, this laser engraver is Ortur's entry-level and most affordable laser engraver that they have in stock. Now this particular model comes with a 10-watt laser, which should be enough so that I can use it to engrave my logo on my new hydroponic towers, which you can see on my other channel. Anyways, stay tuned and we'll unbox, set up, and test this thing out. Okay, so like I mentioned, today we are in my garage to film this video. Now the reason for that is because these laser engravers do kick up a lot of particles and dust. And in my studio, I don't have an air circulation system or something to collect and move all that dust and particles. So even though it's super hot out here, we are going to unbox, set this thing up, and review it here in my garage. This might be a shorter than normal video because it is crazy hot out here. So we will do our best to review this as best as possible in this garage. Anyways, let's go ahead and start by unboxing this to see what all comes in the package. Okay, and like I mentioned, this packaging is a lot smaller than the normal laser engravers that I've unboxed previously. But then again, like I mentioned as well, this is an entry-level laser engraver and probably one of the most affordable that Ortur does have on their site. Okay, so first things first. As usual, these things are packed with nice padding, cushioning, just to keep the components safe and secure. And as you can see, there is an instruction manual, and I just got to say this is probably one of the nicer instruction manuals that I've seen so far that has the assembly instructions as well. You do get a tips card, which just gives you tips on how to best use this laser engraver. Then you also get a parts and components list, just to make sure you check off and verify that you've got all the components you need to set up and get this thing going. Okay, and then you got the components themselves, with the first being this tube. So this is a plastic air feeding tube, it looks like. Okay, and then you've got the airflow regulator, which is where you would connect all the tubing. Okay, and then you've got the antenna along with a flash drive. So this thing probably does have Wi-Fi. You've got your AC power brick. You've got what looks like the power cable or connector cable. You've got your power cable that goes to the AC adapter. Okay, and then you do have the laser module. Now again, this is a 10-watt laser module. However, you can upgrade this by simply just ordering a higher powered laser and just swapping it out. Looks like you've got your tools, Allen wrench, as well as some material that you can engrave on. You've got your USB-A to USB-A cable, so this is what you use to connect the laser engraver to your PC. This looks like one of the outer frames. You've got your safety goggles, which is always important when you're dealing with lasers. Okay, and then you've got the rest of the frame as well, which is secured down by all this styrofoam. So this is, I believe, the front because it's got the Ortur logo on it. And I'm not sure what these little rubber stoppers are, but they come off pretty easy. Maybe it's just protect and keep the metal from bending. Okay, and then of course the side frame, another frame piece. And then of course the center frame piece, which is the one where you've got the motor attached, where you would connect the laser itself. Okay, and then I think that's about it. So not all that much with this one. So there is no air assist, there is no automatic roller, and all those special accessories. So again, your light edition, which is your entry-level version of the laser engraver itself, which should do all the basic things you need it to do when it comes to laser engraving and even cutting. Okay, since most laser engravers are pretty much identical in the way they're set up, I'm not going to really go into detail on putting this thing together. Now, if that's something you're interested, please let me know in the comment section below and we'll go through a detailed assembly. However, for the most part, most laser engravers of this kind are assembled about the same. It comes with a bunch of screws where you just put the frame together, tighten up and calibrate the tracks, and then just put it all together. It's pretty self-explanatory. In some cases it is a little bit more complicated. However, I think for this particular laser engraver it's going to be fairly easy to assemble. So we're just going to speed past the assembly part. So let's go ahead and start the assembly. Now when it comes to the timing belt, I find it easier to just release one end because the other end is covered by a cable, and attach that side first before you tighten this side. So I'd release the back end of it and just take the screw out so that you can connect the front end, and then just take the wheel on the back end because there's less obstructions, and then screw that one in. And then on this side, no big deal because there's no obstructions on this end. So you can just loosen the screw until the roller moves all the way forward, and then just connect it in the front and then tighten it in the back. Okay, so once installation is complete, you will notice that you do have some extra components that came with the laser engraver itself. Now, because this is the entry-level model, there is no air assist module that comes with it. So it does give you this air assist little nozzle which you install at the bottom of the laser itself. But if you don't have the external air assist module, you do not install this, or it will damage the device or the laser when you're using it without an air assist module, an external air assist module. So this is not needed unless you have an external air assist module, which then you would connect to this airflow regulator, and then connect the airflow regulator to the top of this laser. And then you would screw this into the bottom of the laser itself so that it could help with airflow and air direction and air current. In addition to that, you will also notice that you do have this extra piping, and that again is if you install or purchase the external air assist module. Now, what's also nice about this laser engraver is that the focus gauge is on the laser itself, and it can be pulled down or pulled up. So it is a lever on the laser engraver itself, so that you don't have this extra component that's just laying out there that you have to worry about losing. So instead, to make sure you've got the right height, you just pull the measuring gauge out, slide the laser in, tighten the screw at the height, and then flip the measure gauge back up, and then you should be at the appropriate height. Now you'll also notice that you do get a flash drive. Now what's nice about this flash drive is that it's an SD card reader, not actually a flash drive. So the SD card slides right into the USB port in the back. So this is the SD card. Now where you place the SD card is of course on the bottom of the laser engraver itself. At the front there is an SD card slot. Inside there's also a restore and a reset button that you can press in case you ever need to set this laser engraver back to factory default. But because this thing also accepts USB devices, you can just stick the SD card back into this little SD card reader and plug it into the USB so that you don't have to lift up the laser engraver to install the SD card. So that's always nice as well. And I guess that's just a redundancy in case something goes wrong with the USB port or even the SD card slot. You'll always have a backup. In addition to that, this does have wireless, so you can connect to it wirelessly, or you can use the USB port to plug in the USB cable and plug this into your computer so that you can control it from your computer and the software that you're using, whether it's Lightburn or the factory software that comes with the Ortur laser engraver. Okay, so other than that, the only other extra components there are a couple of twisty ties, and a number of different objects and materials that you can engrave on. They are a little bit small for my taste and for what we're going to test it out for, so I am going to just use some wood that I have available, as well as one of my hydroponic caps, which we're going to try to engrave on as well. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to take a quick little break. I'm going to cool off because I am sweating buckets out here, and then we'll come back and we'll test this laser engraver out. Okay, so now that we've gotten this laser engraver from Ortur assembled, and also after I've gone inside, taken a break, and cooled off a little bit, we are going to now test this laser engraver out and just test out some of its capabilities. So the first test, of course, is we're going to do some test engraving on some wood medium that I found. And then after that, we are going to test its capability to engrave on some 3D printed material. So this one in particular is a 3D printed hydroponics tower cap that I printed for one of my hydroponic towers. So we are going to test engrave my logo on the top of this to see how well the engraving works on 3D printed material. Now because this is the LE version of Ortur's laser engraver, a lot of the accessories that I would normally have did not come with this. One, of course, is the air assist or any kind of roller for long types of material. The second is, of course, any kind of honeycomb or engraving plate, which you put under the laser so that you aren't burning through and burning your table or the surface that the laser engraver is sitting on. So I did borrow this aluminum plate from one of my other laser engravers, and we'll just place it here and use this for today. Okay, so next step, of course, is to go to Lightburn, and we are going to get this laser engraver installed in our Lightburn software. So for that, I'm assuming it's the same as any typical laser engraver. We'll power the thing on. Okay, so to power on this laser engraver, you just have to press and hold the power button. Now I'm not sure what that beeping noise is, but I assume it's just that it's setting up. But we'll see. Okay, so I do have a message on my screen here asking me to connect, allow this thing to connect. So we're going to allow. Okay, we're going to see if it detects this laser engraver. Okay, so it does detect the laser engraver, so we will add this device and we will call it the Ortur laser engraver. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Lightburn and get this laser engraver set up. Okay, so it is now detected. And what we'll do first, so I am going to use one of these pieces of wood and put it right here in the center, and then we will open up a test file. So we will use the material test card, and we'll just move this entire thing to the center here. Let's go ahead and frame this. Okay, we will home the laser. Okay, so it looks like this file is a little too big, so we'll shrink it down a little bit. And we'll move this to the center here. And now let's frame it. Okay, so that's not the exact perfect spot for it. Okay, let's frame again. Okay, looks like I'm gonna have to shrink it even more. Okay, so now that we've gotten it positioned, we've got the laser engraver installed in the software. We are now going to test an engraving for this. So let's make sure we've got the power set correctly. Okay, we've got it set to 20%, 20%, and 12%. I guess we can leave it as the default settings and see how that turns out. So let's go ahead and start. Okay, so the reason why I stopped it is because the laser, I'm probably just going to turn it up to 50%. Actually, let's go 100% because it's not doing any kind of engraving at all. So cuts and layers will show this to be at 100%. We'll just set all of this up to 100%. Okay, let's frame this again. Okay, now let's start it. Okay, so now that it's done, overall, I think it did a pretty amazing job. It is very accurate. It didn't turn out as good as I had expected, and that's mainly because the image is so small. And it makes it very difficult to be very accurate with this laser. But for what it was given from an image perspective, I think it did a very good job. The colors and the level of shading is good. The lines themselves are straight and accurate. So overall, I think it did an amazing job. Now, there are burn marks because of the cutting, but that was to be expected because we aren't using an air assist module. If we had an air assist module plugged in, you would not see any kind of burning at all because it would just blow the dust and smoke away and make the laser a lot more accurate. So that was to be expected. Okay, so next we're going to test engrave my hydroponics logo on this 3D printed lid. However, before we do that, I want to make sure we test it on a piece of wood to see how it will turn out. So I'm just going to go in to my software. So we're going to go into Lightburn and we are going to open, and I have it saved as a PNG file, so this is going to be a little bit new, but we're going to try to open this PNG file with my logo in it. Let's go ahead and frame it to see where it ends up. Okay, so I can already tell it's going to be huge, so we're going to shrink it down. We'll probably have to shrink it down some more because we're trying to fit it on my lid. Okay, so let's frame this again. Okay, so that will fit. So let's go ahead and set the layers to 100%. Okay, so let's see how this works first before we go and engrave it on my lid. And I think the white space on this does make it a little difficult It makes it a little larger than it should be. Okay, so as you can see, it did turn out pretty good. I mean, it's a little lighter than I'd like, but that's only because of, again, the image itself and the graphic is grayscaled and very light as well. So the laser engraver will only engrave as light as it was on the image itself. So overall, I do think it did a great job, and I love how the logo turned out. Now, whether it's going to work on this, especially because this is a black surface, I'm not exactly sure. It's worth a test, but I'll probably have to do some adjustments to it and keep on trying until I get it perfected, either with the right color or get it, instead of engraving, to a cutting type of image. So that's something that I'll have to play around with. But I guess right now we can go ahead and try it out. Now, of course, I am going to have to re-level the laser, and I'm not even sure if it can support this height. So let's go ahead and try this out. Okay, so we're just going to lower it till it's the right height. Okay, so I think that's the right height. Now let's go ahead and frame this. Now it would help if I did have a grid so I can see exactly where this should be, but again, this is the LE version, so it didn't come with a lot of the accessories that'll make engraving these things a little bit easier. I mean, I think that's good enough, at least for a test. I wonder if I can change the color. No, you can't change the layer color. I wonder if you can go above 100%. Nope, you cannot. Okay, well, it's not perfectly centered, but we can go ahead and test it out. Let's go ahead and engrave. Okay, so probably in order to make this perfect, I'll need to remove the background, because right now it's laser engraving the background as well. So one thing is, when you're importing PNGs, make sure you import it as a transparent file so that you don't also get the background. Okay, so it did not turn out exactly how I had expected it to, especially because there is a background and this isn't a transparent image, so it printed out the entire square. And also, you can just barely make out the logo itself. Now, it did engrave the logo, which is nice, but there's going to be some tweaking that I'm going to need to do. Now, my objective here is not only to test and review the machine, but also go through the entire learning process. Now again, I'm still new to laser engraving, so I'm probably gonna have to make some tweaks to the file and my settings, and I'll probably have to make this a cut instead of an engrave, as well as remove the background of that image so that it's a little bit more clear and we don't get this entire square effect. So still a little learning opportunity for me, and some tweaking that I need to do with the file itself. Now again, this is going to be a learning process not only for me, but it's a journey that hopefully that we'll all go through together. And as I continue to play with laser engraving, these things will just turn out a lot better. Now overall, what do I think about the laser engraver? Well, I do think it's a pretty solid machine. I think it's well built. I think it's a great laser engraver, especially if you're new to laser engraving and just getting the hang of it. It has all the basic things you need to get started. I would like a more powerful laser, but again, if you're just looking for something that's affordable and also something that you can start off with just to get the hang of laser engraving, I would definitely recommend this ML3 laser engraver from Ortur. I will say though, I think this 10-watt laser is definitely good for engraving things like paper and maybe some light images on wood. Now I don't know if the settings will change that and allow you to print a little bit deeper, but I definitely think if you improve the image quality, it will improve the print quality as well. Now if you want something that's a little bit more powerful, then you might want to upgrade to either the 20-watt or higher lasers, because those will definitely do a lot more than this 10-watt laser. Anyways, I'd love to see your comments, recommendations, and even tips from you more experienced laser engraver users in the comment section below. Now if you're interested in purchasing this bundle for yourself, I will leave a link to it in the description section below. In addition to that, I'll also leave links to the even more powerful bundles in case you want one of those. Now, I don't expect this to be my last video using this laser engraver because again, this is a journey and a learning process for me. So you can expect that I will combine some of these laser engraving videos with my 3D printing videos as we go forward and as I learn more and more about laser engraving. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please support this channel by smashing that like button and subscribing. Please make sure you also ring that bell icon so you can join me on my journey as I experiment a little bit more with these laser engravers and combine them with my 3D printing hobby. Anyways, thanks for checking out this video. I'll see you next time.